Welcome. I'm your host, Henri Arslanian, and welcome to this other episode of the Future of Money podcast. My goal with this podcast, as you all know, is very, very simple. It's to go deep in some of the biggest ideas, trends, and developments we are seeing in the field of crypto, and hopefully empower you with this information, and then let you make your own decision on what their impact could be on the future of finance and the future of money. To do this, I invite each week one of the leading figures of the global crypto community to have this one-on-one conversation amongst crypto aficionados and discuss some of these topics. My guest today is Pascal Gauthier, the chairman and CEO of Ledger, a company and a product that I'm sure many of you use. I know Pascal for many, many years, and I was actually with him 2 months ago in the Bahamas, enjoying the beautiful Caribbean sun. Pascal, great to have you with us today on the show.
Henri, thank you for having me. Great to be here.
By the way, one thing that people don't know about Pascal, obviously many people know him a bit with his chairman and CEO role at Ledger, but he's also a backcountry skier. So here we go. If any of your ski aficionados out there, Pascal is somebody to go reach out to. But also the fun fact about Pascal that I love is that, and hope you're sitting tight for this one, he actually owns a restaurant in Paris in the beautiful Le Marais called Istres that has been running with his friend Philippe that he's known since the age of 14. I mean, there's not a lot of people in crypto that are in crypto and also own a restaurant. So Pascal, that's what I love about you. A lot of interesting things. You never cease to amaze me. Thanks for being on the show today.
Hey, Henri, let me tell you one thing. Many people in crypto own a restaurant, but they didn't build their restaurant. So the only fun fact about me owning the restaurant is I built it from the ground up with Philippe, from bringing water, electricity, everything in my restaurant. I can tell you the story of the light of the bar and the way that we design it. So, and actually the fun fact about this is we built this in what we called back then at Ledger and Kaiko, my other company in the space, the nuclear winter of crypto. I was already in crypto since the end of 2014. But I had nothing to do in 15, 16. I was bored to death. And so I called my friend Philippe and I say, hey, we always talk about doing a restaurant together. Let's do it. And so I was doing most of my time, I was actually building my restaurant. And from time to time, I was actually working on Kaiko. Thank God, in 17, Souberan took Kaiko from me. And now she's doing beautifully. She just raised $53 million Series B round. And I jumped in 17, helping Ledger scale. So that's the story of the restaurant. It's all because of the nuclear winter of crypto in 15, 16.
So you see, when people tell the bear markets are a time to build, you take it literally. I'm looking right now at the pictures of the restaurant. It's beautiful with the oyster bar and everything. Well done. Very nice on that perspective. I'm going to make sure I'll check it out actually next time I'm in Paris on that perspective. Pascal, I think, before we talk about the company, there's many things I want to discuss today, from the role that self-custody has, the integration we're seeing now from custody wallets, physical custody wallets, and actually public crypto exchanges, which we'll talk about as well, especially with the recent announcement of FTX markets and Ledger markets you guys did as well for NFTs. But can you maybe, for the benefit of our audience, obviously you talk about your background, but also give us an idea of how Ledger happened. How did Pascal Gauthier and Ledger come together, and where are we now with Ledger as a business? And then we'll talk about some of the latest announcements as well.
Yeah, so the way it happened is first you had a founding team, and they were working on. The founding team was actually 3 companies that merged together to do Ledger, and they were working on the same problem, which is how do you secure the coins, and how do you build a secure environment to own crypto? And what people might not know about France is the French invented the chip and pin technology. And so what you have on your credit cards, this chip and pin, and you type your little code, that's a French invention. And so the team wanted to adapt this to crypto. And so instead of protecting bank secrets, then we would protect user secrets and their private cryptographic key. That is actually the thing that makes you the owner of the Bitcoin that is on the blockchain. And so they were as they were trying to merge a company, they were doing a round to do the merge and to create Ledger. And me, I was just after my career in advertising technology, just after Criteo went public for 2 to 3 billion, and just after and while I was at Index Venture as an entrepreneur in residence. And I thought, oh my God, Bitcoin is it. And Bitcoin needs data and security. So data, I did Kaiko, and security, these guys came to me And I was like, oh, there's no better security than chip and pin. I mean, I was biased because I'm French, and I was always been told that hardware security is the best. And I said yes in 5 minutes. I say, okay, yes, 5 minutes. Here is the money. But I want a board seat because I knew that I didn't know much about crypto back then, and that Eric, Nicolas, and the rest of the team were superstars in the crypto world even back then. And so I wanted to learn with these guys. And Eric took my money and he said yes to the board seat. And so since then I've been with Ledger. What I didn't know, what Eric told me after, is actually I led the seed round because people didn't really understand this. And me, I was sort of all in Bitcoin anyway. So I thought, why not? And the team was strong. Like I liked the idea of security, chip and pin. All of these seemed to be very strong. And so I said yes, and everyone was like, "Oh my God! Like if Pascal says yes, maybe he knows something we don't know." I didn't know anything, but I was just bullish on Bitcoin. And so we did it together. And being at the board with the guys was great. And at some point, they asked me for help in terms of scalability. In 17, I joined as president, and then Eric later on appointed me CEO and chairman in mid 19.
That's amazing. It's amazing also the product as well. I was looking at while I was doing the research preparing for this episode. I mean, you have more than 4 million customers, which is quite impressive, for the product as well. I don't know if the number is still accurate or it's probably
5.
more, but 5 right now. Here you go. So it's quite impressive on that side. Two things I want to discuss before we go in on the more some other macro questions is you guys recently had 2 new offerings, which I think could be interesting for our audience. One is FTX Markets and one is Ledger Markets. Can you share with the audience what are these new offerings and what's the potential impact on the broader markets, on broader crypto markets?
Yes, 100%. I mean, the general idea is we're building now Ledger as a platform. And so what Ledger does better than anybody else in the market is security. And whether it's consumer or enterprise, we're building a secure platform with hardware and firmware. And the software that plugs onto the platform will be either software that Ledger builds or software that third parties can build. And so this is really the approach that we have, because Ledger can build certain things, but also the market is going so fast and there are so many things that we have this app store mentality. And so what you see is really the results of this. So when it comes to NFTs, Ledger Market first, something that we saw that, something was wrong in the market in terms of first drop. And every time you had a project or community, dropping NFTs for the first time, it always happened in vastly unsecure environments. And, whether it's Discord or Twitter, it's really feels like people are doing it in a cave somewhere and hope for the best. And so we decided to, solve that problem. And so now, Ledger Market is the only place in the world where you can actually drop your NFT collection safely. And the problem that we solved is sort of the end-to-end problem. On the one side, we have the enterprise offering for brands who can sort of mint and then drop very safely their NFTs with everything that Ledger Enterprise does, from sort of security to governance. And so big brands are engaging with Ledger right now to build their NFT collection and subsequently dropping them onto Ledger Market. And then on the other side, we made NFTs first-class citizen in the Ledger Nano and Ledger Live sort of suite for consumer. And with that, you can connect to Ledger Market to buy the NFTs. And what we're going to do in July, we're going to sell mint passes. Right now, we have a wait list with 120,000 people to get access to 10,000 mint passes. And those mint passes will give you a higher chance of being first for these NFT drops. And so we really solved that NFT drop problem sort of end to end, from the brand all the way to the consumer, with absolute security, never compromising on security, and always thriving for ease of use. And right now, Ledger Market will be the only place where you can do that. To your second comment on what we've done with FTX, it's a bit of the same principle. I think what's happening right now in the market is you shouldn't trust your coins you shouldn't give your coins to third parties. It doesn't work. Bitcoin, crypto was not designed for this. Bitcoin and crypto was designed for self-custody. I mean, if you want to trust a third party with your money, stay with your bank. Why would you take some risk? Why would you go into crypto? Crypto was actually Bitcoin was born out of 2008, which is don't trust centralized system. Don't trust, system with a centralized point of failure. Go for decentralization. But it doesn't mean that all intermediaries are bad. Like, FTX has a very strong value proposition in the market right now. They will be actually one of the winners in this market. We can see it every day. And they have actually one of the best trading engine in the world right now with the lowest fees, etc. So we want our consumers at Ledger to be able to enjoy this, but owning their private keys and in the security of the ledger. And so the partnership is exactly this. It gives you the best of both worlds. You can trade to and from your ledger, and you have the best trading engine in the world right now with the lowest possible fees. So that's what FTX is all about. And we have a bunch of integrations that will come in the future. When you open your Ledger Live, go to the discovery section, and you'll see all the integrations that we already made. We have some of the best players in the industry, and you can access them all from your ledger, but never compromise on self-custody, never compromise on security.
No, it's very interesting, actually, from that perspective. Some of the deal you made, like from your perspective, Pascal, what do you think is really the future of crypto custody? Obviously, now because of the market pressure, there's a lot of talks of potential some platforms, exchanges, lending platforms may go bust or have already gone bust. Do you think this is going to drive more people towards self-custody, more people that want to hold their private keys on Ledger or any other self-custody platform?
First of all, that's what we're seeing now. So from a retail perspective, it drives the market to us. But even if you look at NFT, so we actually protect up to 20% of all crypto in the world right now. But for NFT, it's between 30 and 50+% of all collections that are protected by Ledger. And so what this means is if you're a user and you want to do something with your crypto, you want to interact with your crypto, whether it's DeFi or NFT, like you need to have your private keys. Like you can't trust a third party with your private keys and then have the same kind of interactions. If you want to be free and if you want to participate in this decentralized economy, you need to have your private keys. That being said, I think banks and custodians will exist in the future, because it is a service. And actually, if you think about the financial markets, it is a necessary service. Like the reason why everyone is standing right now is because you don't have yet very large regulated custodians in the market. We're actually building one with CoinShares and Nomura right now called Komainu. And I think Komainu is one of the only, if not the only, regulated value proposition in the market right now that is more relevant today than ever, actually. Because the question is what's the governance on the coins? And why do exchanges still have access to the coins? There is a segregation of duty that is very necessary here. Money shouldn't be on the exchange. Money should be either with the consumer. And so that's what we've done with FTX. And if it's not with the consumer, it should at least be on a regulated custodian, because then that the regulated custodian has the money, the trading engine it's just the trading engine, and it's just a better value proposition for the market.
This podcast is brought to you by Bullish. Bullish is a powerful new exchange for digital assets that offers deep liquidity, automated market making, and state-of-the-art security. Follow Bullish on Twitter or visit bullish.com to learn more. Please note that digital assets and cryptocurrencies are high-risk products. Consult your professional advisor before dealing in them. Bullish's services are available in select locations only and not to U.S. persons. Visit bullish.com for important information and risk warnings. But to the argument, many would say that yes, self-custody is great and it's ideal, but in many cases, the user experience is not there yet. In many cases, you're better off having, your assets custody with a third party where their profession is to custody the digital assets, rather than you having your self-custody, and trying to obviously have a physical device, try to remember your seed and other items. Where do you think we are on the user experience side? I mean, do you think it will get more and more user-friendly when it comes to self-custody, or you think there's an inherent flaw? Well, not a flaw, but that's an inherent feature of self-custody is that it's more complicated than just putting it with a third party.
Look, it's the argument of weak tech versus strong tech. At the beginning of a market, weak tech always wins because just strong tech is more difficult to take to market. And so the reason why Coinbase was the first company to win is because they made a very simple interface, easy to use, to buy Bitcoin and to have access to the market. And, fairness, had to be done. They did it. It was fantastic, etc. But if you think about it, it is weak tech. I mean, it's just an app, and there are many Coinbases in the world right now. So the barrier to entry in this business is not very high. And when you see from even from the exchange point of view, when you see the trend between FTX US and Coinbase right now, you can really see that it's not a market that is easy to protect. And overnight, you can have hundreds of value propositions that are suddenly competing with you. Of course, you get network effect and you get value propositions that are stronger than others, and you can still build great businesses building an exchange for sure. I'm not saying nothing against that, but from a pure technology perspective, it is not like it's not the most impressive tech that you can think about. The problem with decentralization is that it's very, very hard, in terms of a technology problem to solve. First, to stay very decentralized, to build directly on protocols that are very young and ever changing, etc. If you want to give direct access to this protocol, is not the same that if you're hiding the complexity with a front end, and then you deal with the protocols in the back end. There is always the question of when you use an exchange, what do you see? Do you see IOU and sort of just the front end? And then how do you know that it's really connected to the back end? And how do you know that you're really buying Bitcoin? It's always a question, right? Like it was a Mt. Gox thing. People thought they were buying Bitcoin. They were not buying Bitcoin. So that problem is still, sort of very true today. But if you think decentralization, if you think self-custody, whether it's Ledger or MetaMask or, there are many value propositions in the market like this, you connect directly to the blockchain. You interact directly with DeFi, etc. And then, the question of having your keys, not your keys, it's, first of all, it's solved, like you need to have your keys. But it's very hard to build products at scale on protocols that are not yet at scale. And so there is a long roadmap for this decentralization, and people want to go too fast. And I think we're confusing two things. First, we're confusing a financial market where people, sort of gamble to make money, speculation. Okay. But for me, that's not really crypto, or that's not really what Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all these things are all about. Of course, the financial aspect of it is relevant, and it will be used for that use case, but also it's being used for art, it's being used for video games, it's being used for sort of many things. And so if you understand where Web3 is going, then it's the tokenization of the world. It's not just like investing in Bitcoin like you invest in an Apple stock. I mean, it is interesting, and don't get me wrong, Bitcoin as digital gold, I think, is a very, very strong use case. But I think there is more to it in terms of the future and what the future holds for the end user. And so this is where it's become really a hard tech problem, because what we're trying to do at Ledger and decentralization, for me, what it means is like we switch from Web 2 to Web 3. And what it really means is suddenly Web 2 took everything from you. Like Web 2, you own nothing. Everything is Google, everything is Apple, etc. Web 3, suddenly you can own everything that matters to you back, whether it's your money, whether it's your art, whether it's your NFT that gives you access to a party, whether it's your NFT that says that you're a good customer to LVMH, whether it's your health data, etc., etc. And then you're in control, and that's your digital being. And that digital being can go into the metaverse, meaning that you can bring the digital being that is you into different experiences, whether they're 2D, 3D, VR, AR, whatever they are. People that think that metaverse is just 3D and VR, I think is wrong. I think the metaverse is just that you have a digital self that you control, and you can work with it, with that digital self in different experiences. The same thing that you do with your body when you go into different experiences in your normal life. And that your key to your metaverse, your key to enter and navigate the metaverse will be a ledger, because Web3 is all about security, is all about control, and it's all about like having private keys to prove that is you, proof of ownership, proof of humanity, proof of something. That is Web3. In order to prove, you need to have absolute security, and you need to have something where you can sign. You have something where you can prove. And so this is what's happening, but it's a real hard tech problem, and it's something that's going to happen in the next 30 years. I finish with this. Think about Apple. Apple has been existing. Apple has solved the Web 1, Web 2 problem. They exist since the 80s. Think about Microsoft. Think about Cisco. All these companies are extremely old right now. I mean, extremely old. I'm 46, so Apple, as far as I'm concerned, Apple is an old company because I feel like an older person now. Ledger has been in existence for the past, sort of 7 years now. Give me another 30 years, and then we can talk about it again about this. People will listen to this podcast and say, "Oh my God, he was right." And now every web revolution happens with hardware. PC was Web 1, iPhone was Web 2. And so Ledger will be Web 3. Hardware with security first will be Web 3, because this is the only way that you can control your digital self.
But just on that point, it's very interesting, because ironically, in a way, right? Obviously, as we are moving to more decentralized ecosystems, and as we're moving to more Web3, basically, and we are taking control of our data, like of our identity online. You know, in a Web2 environment, people went naturally for the most convenient way. Like in theory, like look at how people use their email, other browsers. They go for the most convenient and user easy way, not necessarily the most secure one. It's ironic in a way that in the Web3 environment, yes, we are owning our own data, but actually we're moving to like a hardware, the device, like you said in a ledger, for example, that is owning those private keys. When you look at the future of Web3, I mean, obviously, from what you mentioned, you're convinced that actually it's going to be a hardware wallet. I remember when, maybe for the benefit of our audience, Pascal and I were when we were in the Bahamas 2-3 months ago, and I remember we had a long discussion about this. And I remember you said really the importance of the wallet, the physical device, will be so critical in the future. I mean, you just mentioned some examples, right? But do you think that there will be some service providers who will come and offer a very easy to use way? Yes, as a consumer, you're using it, you're holding your private keys, but there's been ways that are even easier than what Ledger is today. I don't know if it's zero knowledge proof. I don't know what other mechanism we have, but like on a scale, let's say from 1 to 10, where are we now when it comes to user friendliness of being able to hold your own private keys?
Yeah, sure. I mean, right now it's the web in 95 or 98. I mean, remember the web in 95 or 88, or remember your phone in the year 2000. I mean, was it easy to use? Like, it was so complex. Like, I remember connecting to the web at the beginning, we always had to go into IP addresses and change features and settings, etc. It was difficult. Like, it was not for everyone. Think about the progress that's been done in 20 years. Like, people don't know that they connect to the web anymore. Like, your iPhone is your extension of the palm of your hand, and you interact with the web as the protocol, but you don't think about it anymore. When it was actually a thing, 25 years ago. And so I think this is where we are right now. And this is why I'm saying it's a hard tech problem. You're right. In the end, people shouldn't care about whether it's crypto or not crypto. Like, I think that's wrong to think that, like, there is a philosophical element at crypto that was at the beginning. In the end, if you want to be mass market, people will want to know, okay, well, is this better for me? Like, is this cheaper? Does it go faster, et cetera, et cetera? I mean, if you think about payment, for example, there are many attempts in terms of scalability of the protocols, and Lightning is one for Bitcoin. I mean, the way that Lightning works today, I mean, it's nice, but like, I'm sorry, but it's not scalable. Like, it doesn't work for the mass market. The day that you have a very nice Lightning integration into a very nice hardware wallet with a big screen, etc., and that you can make, payment faster, cheaper, etc., okay, then maybe it's a killer application. But we don't know what exactly this is going to be. But again, think about your phone in 2000. How good was it to interact with the web? It was in 2002. It was in 2003. It was horrible. In 2006, it was bad. And suddenly in 2007, you have the iPhone, and everybody had an epiphany. And voila, the world, there was a thing between the year 2000 up to the iPhone came out. It was always the year of the mobile. I was in the advertising industry, and everyone thought like, okay, but people are going mobile, and it was the year of the mobile. It never happened. And we waited for it for a long time. We waited for it for like 7 years, almost like 8 years, maybe 10 years. And suddenly, because of the iPhone, voila, the year of the mobile was there. And why? Because the complexity, the ease of use was completely fixed. Suddenly it was like beautiful. It was very natural. People got it, and people could use it very easily. And so sometimes it can take a long time. Everybody knew that the world of mobile was there. Everybody had phones, etc. But it still took 7 years or 8 years to design the iPhone. So maybe in 8 years, we'll have something in your hand where it's going to be a ledger device and be like, damn, this is easy. And and I get all these things, and now I can go to. We don't know what it's going to be, but it will be a combination of hardware, firmware, and software. That I can tell you.
Yeah, if like I know you, like you mentioned, we don't know, but I mean, if we're a betting man, like I'm sure the iPhone came a bit out of nowhere as well. If there's a lot of people now. We're big. The conversation is, where is that 200 million? We're from 200 million users we have to like a billion. What is it going to come from, right? Is it going to be like, let's say, first of all, there's a market coming in. It's going to be gaming sector. It's going to be esports or whatever. And I think you're right. Like, how people are going to use it. what devices you're going to be using is going to be very, very interesting on that perspective. And I think that also the current crisis is showing to people that there is a big element, there is merit in holding your own keys. I think one thing people often don't understand, maybe it'd be good, Pascal, for our benefit of our audience, is with Ledger Live. I think to your credit, Pascal, I think I've seen obviously Ledger now for the last couple of years and the evolution it had. Can you maybe share with our audience what is Ledger Live and what is the functionality it provides? Because I think it's many people think about Ledger, they just think about the hardware device, but you guys, like you said, are more of a platform that is very broad and offers quite a lot of stuff, actually.
Yeah, 100%. So first of all, your hardware device is just a validator. Like, you're here to, you have a secure screen where you can see the transaction and see that the transaction is actually the one that you want to make. So it's clear signing, which is very important in the space. Like, people need to understand that clear signing is you see what you sign, and blind signing is you don't see what you sign. And so the problem with blind signing in the space, considering that you can't reverse a transaction, is like, well, I'm pressing enter. I hope that, my money or my NFT it's gonna go to where I want it to go, but actually I've got no idea, and so I'm gonna pray very hard just after I press send that nothing goes wrong. And so clear signing is what Ledger is offering, and that's with the secure screen. And then security of the transaction, meaning that when you press enter, you actually sign with your private key, but you never reveal the entire private key, just a chunk. So the protocol understands that you actually know the full private key. And so this is how Ledger protects your private key at rest, but also when you want to do a transaction. And so that's the validator. But to validate something, you first need to interact with the coin. You first need to build the transaction before you broadcast it. And for this, you need a software that's going to be on your phone and or on your computer. Ledger has built probably the best wallet that there is in the space right now. The best in the sense that it does most of the blockchains, if not all the blockchains right now. Latest integration was Cardano. I think one of my biggest like on the tweet when we announced the fact that we were finally supporting Cardano. And actually that has been done by the Cardano team themselves because it's been done through the platform. And so now third-party developers can actually code on the platform and code on the Ledger Nano and also all the way to Ledger Live. And so it's the best wallet that there is right now. However, we want people to be free and we want to stay open. So what it means is you can use your Ledger wallet to connect to other softwares. And so if you want your Ledger wallet to be paired with your MetaMask, this is also something that you can do. And with most of the software wallets out there in the space, they all have a Ledger integration. And so we support everyone that wants our support because our mission is to bring security to the space. So even if you don't want to use Ledger Live, it's fine. We still love you. Get the security of the hardware wallet and then pair it with the software that you want. And if you want to check out Ledger Live, please do, because we are developing a lot into this. And now third parties are also developing a lot into this.
Couple questions, Pascal. We're almost at the end of the show, but one of them is what is really keeping you up at night from a security perspective in the crypto industry? Is it a hack? Is it vulnerability? Is it something happening with a protocol? What is keeping you up at night from a security perspective in the crypto space?
Well, security companies are always very paranoid. Anything can happen from everywhere, from young researchers to big hacking groups. It's cybersecurity is a very complex world, and cybersecurity threat, like forget crypto, forget Ledger, etc. Just cybersecurity threats is probably the biggest threat in the world right now. I think CIA bring those reports out. Probably nuclear is still number one, but just after it's like cybersecurity. The stuff that you can do online to fuck a country, an economy, a company, a person is crazy. And it's getting worse by the day. Every day you get new hacks. Every day there's new way to enter into your phone. Every day is cheaper to do so. And so the attacks that you see today and the attacks that you'll see in a year or two are just crazy. Some of the hackers group were exposed recently because of the war in Ukraine, and so some of these groups were a mix of Ukrainian and Russians. And so since there is the war, they're sort of like telling on each other. Some of the groups were exposed, and you wouldn't believe, like, some groups have 2,500 people on the payroll and 10,000 people as auxiliaries. So you actually do have companies whose only job is to hack other companies, people, government, whatever they can hack, with like 1,200 people, 12,000 people, 12,500 people sort of hacking every day, all day. That's all they do. And that's one hacking group. Like, that's not the only one. That's just one of the many that exist in the world. And so, I think people don't realize this enough. There is one book that everybody needs to read. It's called "This Is How They Tell Me the World Ends," and it's for everyone to read. And this book is actually like a novel, and it reads very easily, and it tells you very easily that cyber security is probably one of the biggest threats on humanity right now. And so, when I think about this, this is why we have the dungeon, our hacking team. Like, so we're playing defense for sure. And I've got the best team to play defense right now with the dungeon. We're hiring white hackers on our side to fight the black hats. But it's a game that never ends, and we need to get ever better. And so this is our big focus. And we are claiming security superiority today, but we're working hard for it.
I need to ask you two more questions are really popping up, and my producer Alex even brought these up as well, which I think are excellent questions. Solana, Solana, the layer 1 protocol, announced recently they're going to have their own phone. They announced the launch of a new phone with their own operating, solution. What do you think what's your view on that? What's your view on layer 1s now launching their own phone and having their own operating system, especially when it comes to Solana? And do you think this is something we may see with other protocols? And what does it imply from a security perspective or on Ledger?
First of all, I think it's very difficult to build a phone, and it's very difficult to build a secure phone. And, it takes a security company to build security. You don't have many companies in the world that can actually master that problem. Sort of Ledger is one of them, but even Ledger on its own, will have difficulties. And so to build, and phone manufacturers will also have difficulties to build a very secure phone. Security is something where you need like a lot of expertise, I wish them luck, but it's a very hard problem to solve. The other thing I would say is, for us, the future is multi-chain. So the fact that you're going to buy a phone just to interact with one chain, I mean, it's a possibility, but then you're sort of narrowing it down to your community. And okay, if everyone is on Solana tomorrow, then it will be a huge success. But there is a question in hardware, pure operational question on scalability. So first, you need security, and so that's I would say it's even more art than science. I mean, there's real science in security, but it's very, very difficult problem to solve. And then you need scalability, because when you're going to design a phone, know that Apple last year sold 250 million iPhones. Know that they sold 160 million AirPods, $25 billion, their business AirPod, 45 million iWatches. And so if you're going to design a phone, know that at some point you'll be in competition with these guys, and they're crazy good. And so the ability to design a phone that is as good as an iPhone, and also has killer features when it comes to sort of Web3, whether it's Solana, everything else, etc. It is a very complex challenge. And to build this at scale, so right now I think what they announced is something that is solely for developers. So for developers, like a developer platform, that's all good and well. But at scale, meaning like hundreds of millions of people like using a phone to do Web3 at scale, that's a whole different problem. And actually, if you start thinking about it, what do you do with the secure elements? Who's going to design the secure element? What is the secure element supposed to do? Like, secure elements today are not designed for Web3 of tomorrow. Like, we know this, like we're working on this. These are very, very complex problems, and you need to have like a ton of experience to be able to start thinking like this, to have credibility with the manufacturers to have those type of discussions. The manufacturer of secure hardware are not the same as the manufacturers of the phones. All of this is a very complex world. And so to do something at scale is very, very, very difficult. It's a problem that a company like Ledger is trying to solve, but we have 800 people that are solely working on these issues.
What do you think are the chances that like our phones will be these kind of Web3 wallets of the future? Obviously, your argument was obviously Ledger is going to be the device of the future when people are entering metaverses and buying, selling NFTs and the likes. But don't you think in the same way, Apple can actually really come up and try to be the Web3 wallet of the future, and in a way compete with all the other self custody devices we see in the market?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, like first of all, the future has to decide whether you want your hardware wallet to be in your phone or not. And I think actually there will be two futures. There will be many use cases of having your hardware wallet in your phone or having a trusted zone in your phone that controls the screen, the buttons, etc. Will be the way to go because for everyday usage, etc., maybe you want it in your phone. But then the question becomes, okay, but do you want to have all your private keys and all your money in something that you carry around with you everywhere? And also where you have video games and you have Netflix and your daughter or your kids, play with it all day long, etc. I'm not sure. But also think about that problem. Okay, how often do you go through a border or do you go take a plane, etc., and everything is on your phone and you're sweating because your phone has 15% battery and it's about to die and you need that thing that is on your phone, but the battery is gone. Today, phones have what, 12 hours, 10 hours of, you can use them a day. And that's if you don't use them too much, maybe a little bit more, but it's just that. So now think that you have everything that is so important to you on that phone that only has 12 hours of battery. I think that the battery issue or, is a real issue. And so now think about that last problem. Like on you right now, you got your phone and you got your wallet. You still have a wallet. Everybody that's going to listen to the podcast has a wallet. Okay, now look at what's inside your wallet. Maybe it's going to be in your phone, but again, think that your phone only has 12 hours of battery. Maybe you need another device to have all of these things with low power device. With all of these things that are super important, like imagine it's your passport, imagine it's your driver's license, imagine it's your insurance stuff, imagine it's your money, etc. Maybe you want it on a device that is low powered and whenever you need it, and it has like 2 weeks of power. Like, it's e-ink. Think about e-ink as the screen. 2 weeks of power. And it works every time. And it works only in certain cases, only when you need to pay, only when you need to flash your ID, etc. It doesn't work all the time. And let me finish by giving you an allegory of all of this. Okay, so now, Henry, I want you to secure 10 billion worth of gold in a building. Okay, I give you a physical problem. Okay, 10 million worth of gold in a building. You can choose the building that you want, wherever you are right now. Okay, and now I'll tell you something else. I also want you to have a nightclub on the rooftop, a shopping mall on the second floor, and I don't know, like a kindergarten on the third floor.
Cinema, yeah, exactly.
A cinema, What would you tell me? Like, I want you to do Fort Knox, but with all of this, and you will probably tell me, look, do it. Like, let's take 2 buildings. I take one building to secure the gold, because from a security standpoint, like honestly, the procedures to have the people, to go in a building full of gold to go on the rooftop to have a party. I mean, imagine, it's crazy. And so this is pretty much what's happening with hardware security. Hardware problems are hardware problems. And the way that your phone or your ledger works is very similar to that building because there are hardware problems. Like if you have too many people walking around the building where the gold is, it's not good for security. And so I don't know what the future is, and we're catering for almost all futures at Ledger right now because we have very strong R&D. But there is probably a future where something will be in your phone and something will be on the Ledger wallet, but Ledger will secure your phone and be your hardware wallet.
I love the analogy from that side, Pascal, the building one. I think it's an awesome one. Pascal, we're completely out of time. We're going to finish up with my bell is with me. We're going to do a quick round of questions. I'm going to ask you questions. I need like 1 or 2 word answers, and we'll go through all of them rapidly. Are you ready?
Ready.
Pascal, you recently moved to Geneva. What is your favorite thing to do in Geneva?
To swim in a lake.
Yeah, Lac Le Mans. Here we go. You are a big backcountry skier. What is your one favorite place to go to ski?
Tignes. It's near Val d'Isère.
There you go. You obviously also have your own restaurant, but outside of your restaurant, what is the one favorite restaurant you recommend people to go anywhere in the world? If you have one favorite restaurant to recommend.
Right now is at Cheval Blanc, Langosteria. Amazing. In Paris, sorry.
Yeah, a lot of good things in Paris, actually. Favorite music band of all time?
Oh my God, I don't know. NTM.
Here we go. Yeah, I remember that. I listened to that in like growing up in Quebec. My God. There you go. I was gonna tell you what's your favorite movie of all time.
Star Wars.
Here we go. Pascal, you're known for your many rings that you wear. I think for those watching this on YouTube, you can probably see it. What is the one favorite ring you have, and that you can share about from all the ones you have?
Well, actually, no. Let me show. Okay, this is the ring. La Vierge Miraculeuse.
Okay, guys, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you, Pascal, for being, as always, Pascal Gauthier, the chairman and CEO of Ledger. Pascal, was great to have you with us. Thank you for all you listeners at home. If you like the show, if you like it, please make sure to click like or subscribe on YouTube, or again, follow us on any other platforms you're following right now. It's really helps us with not only encourage us, but also helps more people to discover the show as well. Thank you very much, everybody, for all the support, especially for my latest book as well, who has become now a global top 10 bestseller, The Book of Crypto. So if you're looking at buying something for the summer to one of your friends you want to learn about crypto, that's one good thing to do from that perspective. Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks again for joining me on today on the Future Money Podcast, and see you guys all soon. See you all next time.